something like this.
All right, buddy. Let's do the. I got to cheers this thing. Let's go from there.
Cheers.
Good to see you, John. How
Good to
are
see
you, buddy?
Carlos. I am well. Hold on.
Look at this, John. I got different cameras from all different angles, and we got camera over there. We got this camera here. Every once in a while, John, don't mind. I'm just gonna pop this right here in your face.
Okay, remember you only have
while you're talking.
You have what you're working with, and this is it.
This is it.
Gets no better than this.
No, I hear you, buddy. Hey, good to see you, man.
Yes.
I'm really excited about being here.
Okay.
A couple of things that we're going to talk about, and one of them, and most importantly, everybody, as you can see in front of you, it is this, your range card for life. And I had a great opportunity of actually reading through it the first time, and I enjoyed it right away. I think there's some amazing concepts here, John, that gets people through life as a whole. But this can almost work for absolutely anything. So we're going to talk about this.
Absolutely.
We're going to talk about that. I want to talk a little bit about, the stuff that I always do and the stuff that you help people out with, which is transitioning into the corporate world as well.
Yep.
Maybe get a little bit of your idea on what was good, what was bad, some of the things you have to work on, not work on, and all those other things. I think that's going to be important.
Yeah, I think for anybody transitioning, not just from military, not just from police, law enforcement,
right,
but from any system with discipline, structure, clear chain of commands, things like that, into what we always talk about is the civilian world.
Yeah.
And I think that's difficult for anyone. Almost, you can even say like a teacher, who's in a very disciplined, very set up way, and then they're going to transition into something that's not as discipline, maybe not as correct, not a clear chain of authority or chain of command or change thing like that.
Wait, you're going to break all these things down?
Yes.
I
will.
I cannot wait. But while you're listening out there, if you go ahead and like, subscribe, share, do all these things that I love for you to do so we keep this thing alive, it would be awesome.
And you can always Google your range card for life.
Your range card for life.
Your range card for life.
And
Google
that will get you where you need to be.
And I remember the first time I Googled it and I saw the book and the cover and I clicked on it.
Yeah.
And I looked down. I remember turning to my wife and going, wow.
Yeah.
It's me. That I did. We finally got the book done. I got a book.
You did that.
Do that and it'll test your researching skills.
All right, so here we go. Let's.
Right.
Do you want to start with the book first, or do you want to start with the transition first? We can do both.
Let's go with transition because I think that's what kind of brought the book about to a degree.
Yeah, kind of interesting. Here are a couple things about the transition for me that I always bring up, and I always get a kick out of asking people is that what you failed at. Let's get right into it for everybody that are listening. Do you have? I know, and we don't. Yeah, we don't need that much, John. That much, but just a couple of real simple concepts. Without, by the way, naming any companies you work for. We don't need any of that stuff.
Right.
But as you transition into the corporate side of things, coming from the military, and please tell the folks a little bit about your background. But tell me about some of the difficulties that you may have had or you still have on that transition phase that you hope people would think about before transitioning.
One of the things that I'll give you a quick little background. Born and raised in New York, so love my Yankees. Bumbled and stumbled my way through life. At age 19, I joined the military. I did 20 years. I was airborne. I was Ranger. I was a recondo instructor. I was a drill instructor. I got to do a lot of different things. I was very blessed in my career. I got to run deep operation sales. I was part of a weapons inspection team. Got to travel all over Russia, other places that used to be in the Soviet Union or the USSR at the time.
Right.
And it was really cool. And in my background, especially being in reconnaissance, being a drill instructor, you're very direct with people. I mean, because you got to take and mold them and say, I need you to do this. I need you to do it this way now. You get the blade hand going. You do those kind of things. And my first job as I got out, I retired in 2000. So I've been out 22 years, and I've been out longer than I was in. And I still struggle times because the units I was in, things had to be very clear. They had to be very precise. They had to be very pointed. They had to have those things where we said, 2 and 2 is 4, go out and go do it. And in the civilian world, and I say that with love because I'm in it now, a lot of times you can't be that direct and precise with people. Our society and a lot of different things, sometimes they're just not used to it. People are taken aback, like they misjudge your, hey, I need you to do this, this, and this. You're yelling at me. Why are you yelling at me? Why are you doing these things? One company I was with, I was called into HR, and I walked in and was, okay, why am I here? I don't understand. They said, well, you make these people nervous. I said, how do I make them nervous? Well, according to them, the way I walked, the way I would be focused walking down the hallway and things like that. And I didn't even know who they were talking about. So this was what, hey, you got to start working on those edges. Got to start working on those edges. And, okay. And then that job went away. The whole division went away. I got hired by another company.
Right.
And it was associated with military contracts. So I was kind of back in my element.
Right.
So you could kind of do those things. And then I started working. That job went away. I was offered another position, and this was working with civilians, true civilians.
Right.
And it was the same kind of thing. People coming up, John, you just got to just take that edge off. You got to take that edge off. And it's like, so I have to change who I am? No. We're not saying that. And I finally learned you have to adapt to a new environment. Doesn't mean you change. Doesn't mean things go differently. You have to adapt. And how do you do that? And it started working on that book. Like, how do I do this? And as the book comes about, when shameless plug, Your Range Car for Life.
Once again, yep.
It's about setting a goal. And what I've learned over time, the goal is not the plan. You have to plan the plan.
Right.
The goal is I need to be better when interacting with my coworkers, civilian people who don't have my common background. They don't have that law enforcement background, or they don't have that military background, that structured background. So the goal is, how do I do that? Well, then I had to learn how to take steps, and I had to learn how to talk and how to think and how to, rather than say it in military terms, take a minute or two to sit and say, how should I say this if I was talking to my mom, if I was talking to someone else? And then it slowly came about, and I'm not saying I got good at it or great at it.
You got amazing at it.
Hold on a second. Every time you say that word, hold on. So part of it became helping other people. And I would say to them, they tell me about a goal, and I'd say, oh, you need to do this or do this or do this. How do you know that?
Right.
And I would say, well, for my time in the military, and it becomes so second nature.
Take a break, man, and move. Whenever you want.
It becomes so second nature to do these kind of things.
Yeah, you take a break or whatever.
And then people would say, oh, how do you know these things? I want to go do this. And I'd say, okay, well, how do you do that?
Yep.
Well, do you need certifications? Do you need education? Do you need experience? In the job description, what are the required things you need?
Right.
Required versus desired versus preferred. If it's required, you need a degree in welding to be a welder. I'm not an expert in it, but I would.
You do welding?
No, I do not do welding, which is why I don't have a degree in it. But if you need that to get that job, well, then it says to you, you need to go do that.
Right.
Then it becomes, okay, how do you do that? Well, I've got to find a welding school.
Right.
And is it going to be in my hometown, or am I going to have to go there? Well, what does it cost? How am I going to pay for it? So you start breaking down the step, the task, the action, and then even the simple movement of, let me write this down.
Interestingly enough, you're really breaking down your book in a transition aspect. By the way, this is one of the wonderful things about this book. As I was reading myself, I can almost put this entire book, or what it presents or what it presented to me, into almost any aspect of my life, and you could easily fit into the transition piece. Right.
And those were things that I wanted it to do when I started writing it. And so here's how it came about. And I used to have people just go, you need to write a book.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, whatever. You need to write a book. Okay, yeah, whatever. And one night I was living in Rhode Island. I was at the local sports bar. And there was this guy next to me. Oh, I'm trying to do this. Well, what are you trying to do? Well, I want to be, I forget what he wanted to be. And I said, well, what does it take to do that? How do you do that? Well, I got to do this. Okay, so I started drawing it out.
Was it
on
an underwater basket weaver he wanted to be?
I think he was, but he was afraid of water and couldn't swim.
Well, okay,
So
got
I
it.
started looking what is required here and desired.
Yep.
One is it non-fear of water.
Right.
So I said, well, think of a shower.
Yeah.
I said, you shower, you bathe. He goes, yeah, I do. I said, well, that's water.
Yep.
I said, so just think of the ocean as a very big tub.
Right.
I don't know if it worked. So I start drawing it out with him on this bar napkin.
Yeah.
And he looks at me and goes, how do you know this? I go, well, my military background.
Yeah.
You do what you call pre-combat checks. You list things. What do I need to do? How do I need to do it? To what standard do I need to do it to be successful or judged to be successful?
Right.
And under what conditions? And that's part of the chapter in the book called Task. What do I need to do? Conditions. Under what resources and environmental operations do I have to do it in? And standard. What do I have to do this thing to a level that the people above me think I'm successful and the people around me? And you have to find that out.
Right.
And it can't be open-ended. Like, go find me a rock.
Oh, here comes the rock story.
This is the rock
Here
story.
comes the rock story. So,
So-
everybody, here we go. Listen up. This is about the time where education truly starts. Though it has started already, but all right, man. Tell me about this specific rock that
Okay.
you're looking for
So many years ago, I worked with some unbelievable
in a land far, far and away. Yep.
Yes, I worked for some unbelievable professionals, the kind of folks that you meet once in your lifetime. And we were going over something, and one of the guys named Bob said to me, he said, here's the problem, John. They tell people to go out and find a rock. And then they bring you a rock, and you go, well, that's not the rock I want. Oh, okay. And then they just go get me a rock.
Right.
Then they go out and they go find another rock, and they bring in a different rock. That's
Right.
not the rock I wanted.
Yeah.
He said, the problem is, if you want a rock, you already know what's in your mind as
Right.
the leader, as the supervisor, anybody, as the husband, as the spouse, the dad to the kids. You know what the rock looks like.
Right.
And what Bob told me was, tell them what do you want? I want it to be no more than 8 pounds. I need it to be no more than 4 or 5 inches long. I want it to be kind of oval and smooth. I want it to be straight-edged with some different colors. That's what I want to be a rock. Now go get me the rock. Well, I just gave you the task. Get me a rock. The conditions, they're all outside, and it's nice and sunny outside and beautiful.
Yep.
And the standard is, here's what I need that rock to look like, or the criterion. Then when they come back, you look and you go, wow, now I have my rock.
Now you have your rock.
So these were things I had to learn to transition into this from the military to civilian world, but also present those in a manner when I said to people, here's what I want, here's why I want it, here's what goes on, and part of it is communication.
Right.
And to be that specific and then say, now, Carlos, go find me that rock.
Yep.
You already know what you need to do.
Yep.
Is there a time frame within it? Give me all those things, and then you may be gone a day or two, and I come back and say, hey, you found that rock? Here it is.
Yeah.
You're happy because you fulfilled what I needed done.
Right.
I'm happy because I have my rock, and the world is all is well in the world.
Yeah.
So I was kind of explaining this out, and the guy goes, you need to write a book. Well, I probably had maybe 1 or 2 more IPAs than I normally would have. So I go back to my
Were
apartment.
they hazy IPAs?
At the time, I don't think hazies were out.
I don't think hazy.
But a good IPA is a good IPA. So I go back to the apartment, and I decided to myself, I'm going to write a book. So I
I'm
started.
glad you did.
So am I, because I wouldn't be here without
Right.
it. So I ended up just going in the zone, and I wrote for hours and hours and hours. Next morning, I wake up, I'm like, oh my God, I did do that. That was not a dream. So I would go back to it and polish it and work
Yep.
it. And then, truth be told, met you, knew you. We're talking about a bunch of things one day, and I forget I did something, and you said, you need to write a book about that. And I turned to you, I went,
I
did.
wrote a book.
I did write a book. And you're like, get out of
I
here.
remember that.
And I'm like, no, I did. I said, I did it years ago as a goof, purge demons, whatever. And you said, well, can I at least look at it? So I said, sure. I found it. I sent it to you. And I remember you going, you really wrote this? I went, with all my crayons. Yes, I did.
Yes, you did.
And you said
all colors. You used all
on your book
colors.
for the corporate security translator.
Yep.
You said, would you mind if I at least ran this by my publisher? I think you got something here. So me thinking, okay, great, whatever, go ahead. Week goes by, and you called me up, and you said, hey, Johnny, I gotta talk to you about something. So I'm thinking, oh, man, what I do now? And all of a sudden you said, my publisher loves this.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? It's like, okay. And they step 2, 3,
Hey,
4, 5,
How
6.
to Conquer. Good to see you.
How to Conquer.
That's right.
That's right. Our friends at How to Conquer took a chance, sat down with me, and said, we think this book has something for people.
Yep.
Because it helps them plan. It helps them overlay military management techniques,
Yep.
to help control the chaos.
Yeah.
Because, I'll talk about, my kids and other kids and people. They look at, oh, my God, I got to do all this. I have to do this. I have to do this. That's the goal. That's the goal.
Well, we're gonna dive into a heck of a lot of this stuff.
Okay.
For sure. But I you didn't answer the question.
Okay.
It says something about softer around the edges and shaping it right. But the question
still working on that.
The question was, what is it? What is it the most difficult part about the transition that you might have learned from, or you're still going through it? Something to share with the military folks out there.
Yeah, it's the same for me. It's still going through transition. Is, to me, given my background, things are very crystal clear sometimes.
Yeah.
And trying to control what I would say frustration with people who can't seem to see it the way I do.
Yeah.
And that's not their fault. My thing to work on is learning how to deconstruct it and explain it.
How to translate.
How to translate it, corporate security translate, and that's exactly it.
Yeah.
How do you translate that? How do you make it where someone who doesn't know or doesn't understand, what's long range surveillance?
Yeah.
I do that. I do that with binoculars when I'm looking at birds, or I'm looking at this, or the moon, or the stars. Well, that's not really long range surveillance. I'll tell you a funny story. After I graduated Ranger School, I'm flying on a plane. My mom and dad's sister came down to visit.
Right.
So we're flying back to New York. I got a week administrative leave. And my sister's all proud, and she turns to this one lady. She goes, my brother just graduated Ranger School.
Oh, yeah.
And the lady looks, she goes, oh, what national park is he going to work at? and she didn't know. She thought I was a park ranger.
There's a lot of them. They're nationally. They're everywhere.
So part of it is being able to translate and kind of tone down the intensity. Because in a lot of the units, and even with cops, you're in a very intense moment. This must get done.
Right.
It's got to get done. Whereas in the civilian world, it's got to get done, and we do have deadlines and things that move us. But it doesn't have to be done with blinding force or blinding, lights on or blinders on, go.
Right.
So it's working on that, and it's a different environment. It's sometimes it's not as tense.
Right.
It's not, so you can learn to relax around others, and you have to engage them and speak their, for lack of a better term, speak their language. Go native, adapt.
Yeah, and I'm not quite sure this directly, John, for somebody that just kind of grew up in a military world, and now you have to figure out. I mean, I have those issues going from corporation to corporation I've worked at. Like, I got to speak their language, their lingo. How they like to receive things. Even as simple as, and I wrote in my book, even
Corporate
as simple
Security
as
Translator?
that book,
Good book.
Yeah. So you want to get into corporate security? It's my shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
By the way, the book is actually upstairs. I should have had it here with me, but it was either like the first 3, 6, 9 months just coming into a company, and just trying to just relax and breathe, and take that entire time just to understand how they walk, how they talk, how they move. It's very hard for me to do that. So I can just imagine from what you're saying right now how tough that is for you to kind of sit around and I'm not saying, by the way, everybody, it's not that you're not actioning things. It's not that you're, but you're just a deeper listener than for you to always want to go back into what you know and answer questions. Like right now, you're just learning and taking it all in. It's so hard for me to just take it all in.
And it is that way because it's what I had to learn too is this is not my company. It's their company. And here's the other thing too. A lot of times for retiring military, retiring law enforcement, I was very fortunate recently to be in Kansas City with our friend Terry Owens.
Terry Owens.
And we had a group. There was people transitioning from the military and law enforcement. A couple folks are a year or two out, and they're going to transition. And one of the things was is you have to understand that it's not them, it is you.
Okay.
Because you're leaving at the top of your game. When you retire from the military, you're retiring from law enforcement. 25 years, you're the guy.
You're it.
Or you're the gal. You're the one
You're
when
the
they, when you
coolest
walk
kid in the class.
and when you walk into the room, they go, "Oh, thank goodness Carlos is here. Thank goodness John's here. Thank goodness, thank goodness they're here."
Yeah.
Now you're coming into something you're not that. You still have all the skills, you have the experience, the institutional knowledge. You have that, but now you're the new person.
Yeah.
And in the other job, you proved yourself for 25 years.
Yeah.
You had nothing left to prove. Now you come in, and you have to they know you got hired based upon your skills, your abilities, and all that.
Right.
But now you have to prove yourself, but you also have to learn how they operate. And sometimes that doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And it's not a good fit because they can't adapt and accept to you. Conversely, it's very difficult for you to adapt and accept them. So I've always told people, when you interview, when you make that transition to corporate security, when you do those kind of things and the interview goes on, everybody says, well, research the company. Okay, research them. You know what they do. Ask them questions about their culture.
Yes.
Ask them, do you see me as a good fit here? And it's okay to say, this job may not be for me. And the other thing, too, is that I found out, and I think it happens to a lot of people.
Yep.
You're retiring from the military, police force, whatever. You will probably take the first job you're offered for several reasons. One, you don't really know your worth. And two, you got rent. And you got bills, and you have things you have to take care of, and you realize that. And so you may take that job, and you may hate it. But here's the other thing with the military and police. We don't know quit, right?
Yep.
I'll work harder. I'll do better. I'll come in earlier. I'll stay later. I'll do these different things. And sometimes it's just not the job for you, and that's okay because when you found the thing you loved, I found the military at age 19. I loved it. And when I was getting out, they had something called an Army Career and Alumni Program, and the guy looked at me and said, Riat, you're doing it all right. You're doing right. He said, but you're going to have a lot of problems. I said, what do you mean? I'm doing it all right. I'm attending the classes.
How am I going to have problems?
Yeah, how could I? This is John.
You are special.
Yeah, I am and unique.
Yes.
And he said, remember all your friends when you were in the military and they were jumping jobs for about 4 or 5 years till they found their niche? I was like, yeah. And he said, you're going to do that. I was like, no, I'm John Riat. I'm special and unique.
Yeah.
You know what? He was right.
Yeah.
He was 100% right.
Yeah.
He said, because you have to find your niche. And fortunately, through several different, again, bumblings and stumblings, I ended up in corporate security, being a data center area manager. And I'm able to combine my background in physical security, force protection, things like that.
Well,
and
critical infrastructure.
Critical infrastructure, all those different things. Because I have that background. So this is my niche. This is where I belong.
Yeah.
But it's not easy for everybody.
But there was like 3 things that you said, John, and you're covering so many things at one time. So listen up. Here's the one thing that I think you said that we have to understand. If you're transitioning from the military, law enforcement, a federal career, something like that. Here's the thing. Nobody needs to transition to fit you into their culture.
They already have their culture.
Yep. So it behooves you to be a good partner to their culture than the opposite.
Right.
Where you're like,
right.
well, they got to transition to understand me.
And I think we're so used to that because, again,
I think it's a rank thing. From my point of view.
I'm not going to rank and position.
Right, because
And
the
you're
higher
used-
you are,
you're-
they have to do.
You're used to people having
Okay.
to work around you.
Yeah.
And they work around you because they have to. Now you come in and it's like, well, wait a minute, hold on. No, you're the new person. You have to learn to work around them. You've got to learn to explore this new wonderful world of corporate security. And part of it, going back into that book and going into what your book is about too, is, okay, what's the goal? I've got to fit in. Okay, well, who are you? What is and I talk about that in the book too. This is the thing in the office when you see your range card. What's in front of you? What's from one side of you, what we call the range fan, to the other? Who are your allies? Who are
Well,
your
it's
friends?
funny that you said that, 'cause
What are
I-
your obstacles?
I have this the page right here.
All right.
And here's the range fan, everybody.
Yep, there's a range card.
I got it's just sitting right here. So,
Yep.
but we're gonna, man, I'm gonna break this down right after this. but before we do that, there's again this one thing, the part where people have to fit into you. That's not how it works in the corporate world.
No.
You have to fit into the culture.
I'm glad you say it that way. The culture, not the
not
little group you're
no,
with.
not the group.
The larger culture.
How they move, how they walk, how they talk.
You know, a lot of organizations now are huge with diversity, inclusion.
Oh, yeah.
All those things. Diversity, equity, inclusion. They're huge
Yeah.
on big days. We're all going to do this and do this and do this. And a lot of times you didn't have to do those things before. You just didn't have to do it. But now, because your company does these things, I'm not saying go there to check the box. I'm not saying to do that because everybody know you're there checking the box. But you go and you have to learn.
Agreed.
You go and you have to say, oh, I understand why we're doing. When they have the online classes or they have the, hey, we're going to talk about this today in the meeting. Open eyes, open ears, open. I don't want to use the word open your heart, open your brain.
Just open mind.
Yeah.
Open mind.
Be the sponge, absorb.
Yeah,
and go,
open
why
mind.
Why are we celebrating this, or why are we looking at this? And then search the person out afterwards and say, hey, I'm kind of new at this. And this is the other thing that I found out. When you're at the top of the game, you don't have the answers all the time, but the people around you don't really know that sometimes. So going to the corporate world, I mean, having some humility to say,
Yes.
I don't understand.
Yes.
Let me go to the people who do understand and say, hey, I'm not trying to nitpick on you, or I'm not trying to sharpshoot you or second guess you or
Is he
quarterback
making
you.
sense?
But to say, how does this work? I don't understand this. And if I can learn how this piece works, that goes, okay, so that was my goal, learning how to be adaptable to their culture. Well, who do I have to talk to? What do I have to see?
Yeah.
What do I have to learn? And these are your action steps. And I'm not saying you wipe them all out in 1 week and like, oh, thank God, I am included now. I am good. A lot of these are constant, ongoing checking. And in the book, I always talk about sometimes you take a rest, you take a tactical or an operational pause. Am I meeting the things I need to be meeting? Am I doing these things well? If I am, great, keep doing them.
Yeah.
If I'm not,
Yep.
I need to go back to my plan. I need to go back to my range card. I need to go back to my steps and go, am I missing something?
Yeah.
And this is where the big thing in the corporate world is huge, and you know this. Who's your ally? Who's your support mechanism?
Yeah.
Is it your spouse, your
Yeah.
family? Yes, they always are. But who within the organization, because we've all had mentors, right? We've always had that person, our sponsor, our mentor, the person looking out for us for whatever reason. And to say, I don't understand this. Can we have coffee and a conversation? I'm huge on coffee and a conversation.
Yeah.
Or, a beverage and a BS session. So
Yeah.
to me, these are big, big things. And you have to humble yourself, not in the way of, humble. No, you have to humble yourself and say, I'm going to go to somebody and ask for advice and guidance and mentorship.
Yeah. One of the biggest.
By the way, this is a very good interview.
Well, thank you. Hey, cheers, buddy.
Cheers. Twice.
I am running out of this. Hold on. I do have an assistant here today, which I better. He's behind the camera, everybody. You can't see him, but oh, there he is. There he is, everybody. So he's been
Doing a great
nothing.
job.
He's been doing nothing but
Great
great. If
job.
you happen to come across another one of these while what are you got there? Is it a Bud Light?
No, I can't. I can't.
I
drink
put
from
that
it.
on camera.
No.
Is it a
That would
Coors
not
Light?
be a. That
Is
would
it
not.
is it
no,
a Coors
I don't
Light,
do
John?
light.
John, are you drinking a Coors Light,
No,
John?
John
Is it
does
a
not-
Bush? Is it a Bush Light, John?
Oh, it's
You're
Old
in Kansas
Milwaukee.
City now.
Old
You're in Kansas.
Milwaukee. No, I like
Yeah.
IPAs and hazy IPAs.
Okay,
So that's what I go with.
Just checking, man.
It gets me through the day. What's that?
All right, so let's get.
What's that old phrase? Here's to alcohol, the creator and cure of most life's problems.
Yes. But it's not your range card for life.
No, you don't want to put that
your
on your
range card for life
life.
is actually the probably will solve a lot of your problems. But so here are some honest probably I'm gonna give it like one or two more questions, then we'll move on to the book
Okay.
where we get in deeper. And I have a
Okay.
feeling, since we've been able to like intertwine your book with the transition, because it is not only just
Yeah.
I think a range card for life. I think it's a range card for almost everything.
That's one of the things I
life
wanted
is
to make
everything,
it that
ain't it?
you can overlay it to anything. You want to do a barbecue?
Yeah, I want to do a
You want to
barbecue.
do a party?
I wanna
You want to
a
do
bar-
anything?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
in there.
Yeah, no. I was
And a
still-
lot of it is planning.
John, I was
reverse
looking at
planning.
it, and I was ready to use some kind of PVC and E kind of thing. You tell me more about.
Okay.
How do you say it? How do you say it?
Peripheral. Let me read it. Sometimes I forget. Okay. Peripheral vision
Visual-
competition evaluation.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I can.
So this
No,
came about.
We're not going to. We're going to go there. I'm not
Okay,
saying that we're
because
going there.
that's a fun one. I kind
Yeah,
of
no,
made
we're
that
gonna
one
yeah,
up.
we're gonna go there. We're gonna go there. But
Okay.
we got a couple more questions, and then and here's a couple things. I have a good friend of mine, Altaf Bora, that was quite honest about the reason why he has to really think about his approach to corporate is that he came from. He was a Marine. He's a Marine intelligence guy.
Okay.
He was the kind of guy, everybody, and you know this. If you come from the military, like I just get geeked out by this kind of stuff because I love the military. Like I love the military. When he sent me pictures of him dressed up. By the way, he's a Muslim dude, straight out of Texas. Was born in Texas.
Okay.
Is a straight up Texas America all the way. And thank you, sir. America all the way, but he has because he was an intel Marine guy in the middle of
Right.
stuff, doing weird things, dressed up as the folks from that area that he was working.
Okay.
Which I always say I'm not going to talk about the areas individually, but one of the things that he always says that his problem is that he can't find a mission, he can't find the camaraderie,
Yeah.
he can't find the life and death situation where you are willing to die for me,
Yeah.
I'm willing to die for you.
Right.
That just doesn't exist in the corporate world.
Not to the degree and the intensity that it is in the military.
But if you did that 20, 25 years, this
Oh,
is
you
where
don't
I
just turn it
struggle.
up. This is what I
This
tell
struggle.
people.
I would struggle.
You don't turn it. From my background, what the units I was in and the things I did.
Yeah.
And it was all of a sudden, okay, you're done, fine. Thank you for your service. Turn it off.
Have a good day.
Have a good day. And you
Welcome to your next life.
and you can't do that. It doesn't work that way. It's like telling someone, okay, here you are up to age 40, whoever you are, stop being that, now be this new person.
But yeah, exactly.
And you get a different kind of camaraderie. In the units I was in and stuff like that, it was the person to your left and the person to your right. They have your back. They have to have your back because you're that person's left or right.
Well, you rely on each
become
other for operational
everything,
purposes.
everything.
There's a purpose.
And like on the police, if you're going to go into a room, if you're
oh,
going to go
I know
something,
when I'm
you back
cleaning a
everybody
house.
up.
I know exactly. I know who's got the short gun, long gun, and the reasons for all of those in the line.
Are we going to split the
I
pie now?
know
Are we going
this,
to do it?
yep.
So you look at those things, and you're taking the level of trust, camaraderie, and companionship, and love of your fellow soldier. You're putting in saying, "I'm handing you my life." And in the civilian world, they don't do that because, newsflash, they don't have to. They don't have to. But what they do is say, I am relying on you to do your job, your part in this mission of this report or this project or whatever we're doing. I'm relying on that, and I need you to rely on me.
Yeah.
So it's a different level. It's truly different. As for and in the military, the mission is clear. You finish, you go to the next one. Finish, go. And sometimes in the civilian world, it's not as clear. We finish this. There may be a pause till the next one comes up.
Yeah.
So what do I do? It's like when I got laid off from my first job out of the military. In the military, you don't get laid off. You either retire, you end your enlistment, or you get chaptered out. Medical or because you didn't do things very well. So I go to get laid off. They call me in the room. The guy was really nice. He sits me down. Hi, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. And the division's going away. Oh, okay. I said, so what do I do? And he goes, you go home.
You don't. You don't
do anything. You go home. I'm like, okay, yeah, I get that, but so what am I doing? He goes, the division's going away. You're being laid off. Oh, okay, so what do I do? He goes, you go home. I'm like, but I'm John. I'm special. I'm unique. I'm this guy. And he's like, understood. Here's your severance. I'm like, yeah. So what do? I come in every day, and he's like, no.
Yeah.
So that is a transition. Every day as a police officer, every day in the military, things like that. You wake up, you have something you have to do. There is a mission. There is something to be done every day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
supports an overall.
Yeah.
But in the civilian world, you do your job in a different mannerism. You're supporting the company's mission, whether it's overseeing people do widgets, whether it's force protection, force security, which is, we all know is boring until it's not, right?
Yep.
So that's really hard to tell someone like that. Stop being that guy,
Okay.
that you were that guy or that gal or that person for
not
20 plus
easy.
years. It's not. It's really, really not.
It's not easy. That's a struggle for folks transitioning into the corporate world.
Absolutely.
All right, we can probably do this for a very, very long time.
Everybody
He
has
was
to go to the
looking at me
bathroom at
kinda
some
weird.
point.
Yeah.
They have to.
Even the support staff.
They have to.
So, John, I know that we can go on this forever,
Absolutely.
man. But we have a certain time, and I still want to get to your book deeply. That we haven't gotten to your book yet.
We'll get there eventually.
Yeah, we're gonna get there eventually. But there's a lot of things that I tell people that if you're transitioning into the corporate world, there's just one or two things that you should really, really think about.
Right.
If it's worth it, not worth it, or educationally, where you should think about education, where you shouldn't think about educationally,
Absolutely.
what you should focus on, not focus on. Like, I don't know exactly what angle you want to take on this answer, but for me, the question is, if there's one thing, somebody comes to you right now and they said, look, man, I'm in a position to where I have no other choice, nowhere else to go. I just need one thing from you. What should I be doing? What should I be thinking about? Whatever the case may be, to transition into corporate security from this military world that you came from, John.
Right.
What should I be
First thing
doing?
I would say is read your book, Corporate Security Translator.
Come on. Come on, man.
No. Second thing would be read your range card for life.
Yeah.
Okay. But the third thing,
Right.
I think I would tell them is, and it sounds funny, what is it you want to be?
John,
now?
I'm not paying for you. I'm not paying you for the
You're not?
corporate security. No, the corporate security translator. Or so you want to get into corporate security?
Okay.
How do you? Okay. All right. One thing.
Okay. Part of it is, and as usual, it's never one
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Part of it is, and I actually spoke to a police officer over the last weekend. I was telling you about
Yeah.
in Kansas City. And I said, here's the question you have to ask yourself at least a year or two out, if you can. What is it you want to be now, Peter Pan?
Peter Pan.
Because Peter Pan, the Lost Boys, Peter Pan wouldn't grow up.
Should I mention a company that I worked for 21
That's
years,
on
John?
you. This is your podcast.
I'm not doing it.
I'm living your world.
I'm not doing
But
it.
if you think about it, is what do you want to go do?
Yeah.
Because everybody's, what is it you want to do?
What are you passionate about?
Yeah, what are you passionate about? What is it you want to do?
Okay.
So, if you're like, I always wanted to be a welder, man. I love working with my hands. Then I would suggest go do that.
Yeah.
Initially, year, two, make a small living at it. You might make a great living at it because we need good trades.
Yeah.
But go do that.
Oh God, the trades right now is suffering.
Exactly. So, or a lot of times understand this. You're not going to jump from where you are here immediately to where I might be or where you might be.
The levels, yeah.
And you have to be honest with yourself. And sometimes, so I always say, what is it you want to do? Well, I don't know. Well, I can't really help you. You want to be a pirate? You want to be a... Do you want
I want
to
to be a pirate.
I always thought it was cool.
Arr.
I just don't want to have the hook thing. It wouldn't work
Right.
with sushi.
Right. Though Peter Pan, versus the remember the
There you
Captain
go.
Hook.
But if you think about it, what is it you want to do? What are your leanings toward? What is your it's surprising when a lot of they get this look and they go,
What are you
I
passionate
didn't really think about that. I don't know. Well, think about it.
Yep.
Especially when you get 2 or 3 years out. Like I tell people, do you want to stay in where you're at. You want to stay in Ohio? You want to stay in New Mexico? You want to stay in New York? You want to stay in Cal? Do you want to stay there, or do you want to go somewhere else?
Yep.
Because here's the other thing: you may find that dream job. And I live in Kansas City now, as you're aware. And I find that dream job, but it's in Montana. You got to have some questions answered. Are you?
I love Montana, though.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Are you willing to move there?
Yep.
Will you be willing to move for that
Yep.
job? Will your family be
Are you willing
to
to move there? Montana? The Yellowstone, okay.
Oh, absolutely. How about Alaska?
But it's what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's
These are things
look,
you
you're
have
going
to think
transition.
about.
What are you passionate about?
Yes,
And does it even
yes.
have to be corporate security?
It doesn't. No.
And does it? I just did another one the other day. It was somebody that did like 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, or whatever in the middle there. And I'm like, you got so many years left. And I even said, do you have that gung-ho kick down doors thing? And I said,
right.
do you know how many law enforcement, like how many police departments and sheriff's departments are dying for people right now? They're dying. They're dying for. Is that what you're passionate about?
Right.
Because if that's what you're passionate about,
There you
then
go.
that's good too.
Yeah. I was actually in the airport. Flights got delayed. Everybody's standing around. Oh, how you doing? I can't believe this. And I ended up talking to this young lady, and her husband's a former Marine. He's been out about a year and a half.
Yep.
And he was a door kicker. And she said he is struggling so badly. And I said, I get it. I said, but here's some things. I said, just because you kick open a door every time does not mean it's a door that should be kicked open or that every door needs to be kicked open. Because once you get in the civilian world, every door does not need to be kicked open.
Or has the right to be.
And there's sometimes you have to knock. You have to knock on the door.
Announce
Who
knock
you
and
are.
announce.
Say I'm here to work with your company, work for your company to make it better. You know. And she's like, I never thought of telling him that. I said, well, you can tell him that. But this is a perfect example. And for a lot of the folks coming out of the military and law enforcement, that first year is so hard because it is.
But it's critical to your
the light
transition.
switch goes off.
It's critical.
Or the
those who
switch
can
goes-
move,
Yeah.
those who can shift faster,
Yeah.
a lot of times.
And I told one guy, I think it was like 2-3 weeks ago, we were talking about it, and he said, "Well, you know, I'm getting out at 25 years in." I said, "Do you have enough vacation?" He goes, "Oh yeah, I'm maxed out. I got like 90 days. You know, I bought."
Yep.
I said, "Take 2 months off." I said, "Go for a hike, walk around, walk your dog if you have a dog, do these things." He's like, "Well, no, I got to get to work." I said, "First off, you're on vacation, you're getting paid." I said, "Second off, I said you need time to decompress and study these people." And here's a real tough thing with cops. You're former police officer, you know this.
Yep.
I need you to move over there now. Oh, okay, I'm moving. What do you do in the civilian world? You just say, "Hey, I need you to do this."
I need you to
ain't
move
doing
over
it.
there now.
I ain't doing it. Not my
No,
bag.
no.
Or
Right,
you know what the other
right.
thing too is? Not my job, man. What do you mean it's not your job? We're,
Yeah.
we're all here together. I don't
Yeah.
get paid for that. And that's another thing. That was shocking to me when, hey, why are you cleaning that up? Well, because we spilled it. We got to clean it up. That's not your job. We have people to do that.
Yeah.
And it's really
It's-
compartmentalizing. And there's so many little aspects to it, which is why, you know, your book, and I hate to go back, like your book really says, think about these things, do these things.
Yeah.
My book says, set the goals and take
Which
the steps
we're going to get
toward
to
them.
it.
We're going to get
We're
to
going to
it.
get to your book right now.
I think we'll get
as a
to
matter
it
of fact,
in-
we're going to kick it off. But
And we'll get to it
here's
in
the
December.
thing. Look, everybody, yeah.
Yeah.
We got a long time to go. As a matter of fact, we need to break down into very specific topics when I'm talking to you, John, because we could go anywhere. But here's the thing. So if you're thinking about transitioning right now, John he's here to help. He's here to help. Hey, reach out to him on LinkedIn or whatever the case may
I'm
be.
on LinkedIn.
Yeah, he's here to help. So let's go. But listen, this is it. Your range card for life. Let's transition to this thing.
Okay.
Your range card for life. So we talked a little bit about
You know what's cool about the title?
Yeah.
It's your range card. It's not mine.
No.
It's your range card.
That's exactly it.
So when you go through and I know you've already read it and different things.
I might
what
have been one of the first ones to read it. Possibly.
One of the cool things about it is, and I tell people, with all the different techniques I'm showing you and all the different things, use a little from each one. You don't have to use just this one.
Yeah.
Literally pick and choose out of that buffet what might work for you.
Buffet. Yeah.
Buffet. That's French.
So the standard range card,
Yes.
I thought was interesting piece of it, and it's about collecting data, put them in a place to where it fits within the card,
Yep.
and maneuvering yourself around that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there's a lot of good things. So tell me a little bit about that part in itself. So how did that come to
if
be? Why did you want to put it in the book?
Shameless plug. If you buy the book, and I hope you do, and I hope
Yeah,
you read
absolutely.
it, enjoy it, you'll see standard military range card in there, and you can Google your range card for life and find it, and you can also Google a standard military range card. And what it is when you get in a fighting position or a position, and it's everything from your 10 o'clock to your 2 o'clock and your 12.
It's kind of like what you can see in front of you.
Yeah, what you see in front of
Yeah.
you. So what do you see in front of you? You see trees and obstacles and rocks and different things. You kind of fill it in, and then you estimate how far out is that. And then what's interesting is a person to your left and to your right is doing the same thing. So as you're doing that, and in life and what the book says, okay, now I'm going to have to walk this path.
Yeah.
I have to figure to the goal and the objective. There's a part in there, find your magnetic north or your true north. What is that for you? You know? What is that for you, your true north?
Yeah.
What does that look like for you? That's your internal clock,
You got
things
one?
like that.
Yeah.
And then-
hey, hold on. Can I get you another drink,
No,
John?
I'm quite well.
It's at that time.
I'm good. I am so good.
All right.
So anyway, now I have to walk this path. So do I want to walk into a big boulder?
Yeah.
I could.
Well-
But now I got to go through it, around it, over it, under. Somehow I got to figure that out. And there's something in there that we call dead space. And that's things that I see in front of me, but I can't see what's there. Like behind that rock, I can't see what's there. So that could be some dead space. Now, the person to my left or right, they may see what's there. So they're the ones who are going to help and cover me. These are your allies. These are your coworkers, your mentors, your friend, your family who you can bounce those ideas off of. Yeah, there it is.
Well, I got it right here. Trust me, I know
I
where
got
they
you.
are, man.
So as you move along, you say, okay, this rock is 500 meters out. You know, this rock starts telling you, when I get there, what do I need to do? How do I have to get there? And you just start making the list of how you're going to do all these things. And oh, by the way, what do I need to get there? What's in my pack? What's in my backpack, my sack, my bag, and what's in all those different things? I need food. I need water. But in the civilian world, do I need a skill set? Do I need, if the job says I need 1 year experience in this field, well, guess what? I need 1 year experience in that field. So how do I get it?
Yeah.
I've got to be in that field for 1 year.
Yeah.
Then I can apply positions up. And then it's how you go. And then finally, you're going to get toward your objective, your goal. And then you stop. You should look back behind you and say, did I take the best route? As you're going along the route, is this where I need to be? I talk about target reference points, things like that, which or in the civilian world are like for time. If I need a 2-year degree or I'm going to do these different things, how do I do that? Am I on track for that? What do I need for it? For financing, for money? Do I have to leave the state for a special school? What are things I have to do on that? When this is all laid in front of me, then I can look at things with clarity and of thought. I can look at it with specificity of action and how do I want to get to it?
So every single thing about the card itself, and how it's, for me, it's like this visual tool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I'm a visual kind of guy.
Yeah.
But if I can visualize and then I can write down. I'll tell you, in college, what I used to do, I used to listen, take notes, go home, rewrite my.
I had to do the same things.
I had
If
to
you could
rewrite-
see some of, okay, so at the risk, I always have another thing called let's whiteboard that shit. And I drove my coworkers.
Damn, you're reading
crazy.
my damn mind.
But
So
it's the same thing.
here's my
It's the same
problem.
thing as a range card.
But John,
I squiggle on a whiteboard, and there's times I will go back and go, what did I write there?
you're
But if I
reading my
take
mind.
that time, but if you do that, one thing I like about the range card, one thing I like about a whiteboard, one thing I like about making a list is you will see the gap.
Yeah.
How do I get from A to B to C to D? How do I do that? Is it time, resource? Do I have the things I need to do? Is it training? All these different things. I do this. I do the whiteboarding and I do range carding at work constantly. And when I first started doing it, my coworkers would sit, and you could just see them going, "What is he doing now?"
Yep.
I used to work with a guy named Jeff.
Jeff.
Yes.
Was that his real name? Or
That was his real name. No, Jeff.
Okay.
And they used to say, if you get Jeff near a whiteboard, he starts twitching and shaking. And I used to laugh about it. But he made magic on the whiteboard and on the range card.
Okay.
And the joke at my work now is you get John near a whiteboard, he starts twitching and shaking. But it's true. You start looking at things and you draw them out.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people try to do it in their head, which is okay for small things. But on complex things, dealing with your life, dealing with your transition, how many years out do I need to start thinking about it?
Yeah.
Do I have financing I need to take care of? Do I want to pay off my house? Do I want to pay off my car?
Yep.
Do I want to continue working because the kids are in school, they're going to graduate? All these things, you write them out and you put them down, and it allows you to start seeing with a clarity of thought and a mind's eye to say, that's not really important right now. I can put that over here. That one has important. I'm going to put a star, or I may move it over here. And then slowly that plan, very slowly, will come together into actionable items.
So I agree with the range card. Exactly what you said.
Good.
Set you up for
It's
success.
almost like writing a book.
And he did. Set you up for success, which is incredible. And then you go into, within a book, you ready? The peripheral vision competition evaluation, the PVEC. The PVCE.
You really like that one, don't you?
Well, I can't even say it right. But, I mean, so the idea of how it came about and how it translates into what you do in everything world, how you break it down in the book, to me, is also pretty awesome.
Oh,
so,
thank you.
And anybody can use it.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Okay, so that came about. That's a military technique I actually came about with kind of on my own. So I was teaching some weapons manipulation drills to these folks. It was a shotgun drill. And they were accomplished marksmen. But because of the way the platform was laid out and the study was laid out, you had to do this, you had to do this, you had to load, you had to do all these different things. So you have to do each person individually. Then I put them up 3 next to each other, 1, 2, 3. These guys were good. And I said, okay, I read the task. Here's what you have to do. Here's the standard and the timeline, blah, 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 yada, 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 which is a New York thing, yada, 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 or blah, blah, blah. I'm not either way. So I said, okay. I said, go. And they were making mistakes. And I'm like, okay, wait, start again. Okay, maybe I wasn't clear. Reread everything. And action, begin, go, click, make a mistake. And I said, okay, wait, stop. I said, you do it. Perfect. All right, now you do it, number 2. Perfect. Number 3, now you do it. Perfect. What's going on here? So I had them do it again. They made some mistakes, and then it dawned on me. They were so focused on the person to their left and right and what that person was doing and trying to get ahead of them or be better than them, they were making mistakes. Peripheral vision competition. So when I talked them down and said, stop.
Yep.
And that's what distracts us. I want to go do these things, but I notice my friends over here doing this. Wait, well, squirrel, what? Yeah. So you get distracted. You get distracted, you're unsuccessful. You're unsuccessful, you beat yourself up. We are the worst.
Yep.
And that's another thing, military transition and police transition, it's tough. If something doesn't go right or there's a failure or a no-go or do not pass, we beat ourselves to death.
Yep.
And in the civilian world, they go, well, what did we learn from this? Let's go back and learn. And in the peripheral vision competition evaluation, it's basically you focus on you. Your goal is in front of you. Carlos, your goals are not in front of me. They're in front of you.
Right.
My goals are in front of me. Other people's goals are in front of them. So if you focus on your goal, don't get distracted by the things on your left and right. Be aware they are there.
Right.
But stay focused on your goals.
Awesome.
And that's not to say you're so singular focused, the building's on fire, everything's going crazy. It's like you're aware of things. And in the corporate world, be aware of who's to your left and right. Be aware around what's happening to you. have the pulse of the office, understand the environment. You know, it's like the classic thing in, the force. There's a disturbance in the force. Is that disturbance, is that thing
Does that
on
have
your
to do
peripheral,
exactly with what you're doing? You should be focusing
is it going
on?
to impact on you?
Man, I love it.
If the company's going through a new upgrade in their
Yep.
technology, will that new computer, that new program impact you?
Yep.
Well, you may not know. So what do you have to do? You have to pull yourself back, go find that individual, talk to the people and say, well, what's the impact to my project?
Yeah.
What's the impact to my goal?
Yeah.
And it may be no impact, or it might be, oh, yeah, this is really going to impact.
I love. God, diggity dog. So here's another one.
Okay.
Because I know this from my law enforcement, the OODA loop.
Oh, the OODA loop.
You know, from my law enforcement
Cheers.
days. Yeah, cheers. From my law enforcement days, I knew
I tell you what, you want
'Cause-
yeah,
it's like this tunnel vision,
yeah.
right? But in life and career and everything else, how does that translate
Right,
into
so,
the civil? Well, I don't want to call it this again, everybody.
corporate.
Because but I don't even. You learn this in the military world. You know, a lot of people in the military. I'm guessing. This is a total guess. You learn all this great stuff,
Right.
and then you leave, and you forget that you had these ways of dealing with things
yeah.
that you can still use in the civilian life. So let's talk about all these different things. There he is.
There
Are
he
you in?
goes. We're
You're
back.
in?
We're back.
Yeah, he's
You
back.
all right?
He's back.
The associate producer or assistant
Yeah, the
producer.
associate producer. I like
Hey.
the angle. I like the angle.
Yeah, yeah.
So tell me, you talk to me a little bit about the OODA loop, and then we're going to go to another O. That's next. But tell me how that works.
Okay, the OODA loop was designed or thought through or developed years and years ago. I believe an Air Force fighter pilot figured it out. Observe, orient, decide, act.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, when you're flying a jet and you're in a dogfight or you're anything like that, you're constantly observing, orienting, decide, and it's microseconds. It's happening.
Right.
And if you can disrupt your adversary's loop, you can beat them.
Right.
You can beat them. So if you want to hoot, after you Google your range card for life and see that, Google OODA loop and click on images. And people have taken this to the stratosphere,
Okay.
like to the point where I find it confusing. I'm not a smart man, I'm a knuckle dragger, but I found the world needs knuckle draggers. So in the OODA loop in corporate is the same thing. Observe what's in front of you. What is it? How do things happen around you? And it's a constant thing. I'm not saying sit at your desk or your cubicle
Right.
or whatever, and you're doing this, you're doing this. No, it's observe what's around you. Orient to your environment. Make decisions based upon that. And then the tough part of everything that we always talk about is act. The hardest thing in a lot of ways is taking that big step. And it's like that movie Flashdance. Remember when she said, "How did you?" Oh, it's a great movie. How did you do that? I did this, did this.
How
how'd you start-
Flashdance?
Yep.
I'm
How
a
did-
maniac.
Oh, you're
Maniac on the
Michael
floor?
Sambora.
Come on.
Michael Sambora. Oh, I used to. Oh, I had the moves.
Okay.
Anyway, but the thing is, when she talked to the guy who owns this company, how did you do this? How did you do this?
Yeah.
In a way, it's almost like writing when you wrote your book. When I wrote this, I had everything done, but until those fingers start hitting the keyboard, you act. Don't be afraid to act.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to fail. And this is the other thing with cops. Cops hate failure because it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Same thing in the military. We're not designed to fail. And we fear it, sometimes to the point of inaction. Well, then what happens is for the corporate world, you have to act or you'll get eaten alive by your competition. Right. And even in your own projects, your own world, your things like that, orientate what's in front of you. Observe what's going on around you. Make decisions. And here's the other thing, too. You make them not in a vacuum, but 90% of the time, and you know this, you make it with your team. Here's, guys, gals, let's go to the whiteboard. Let's go to the range card. Here's what we need to get done. Here's the time frame we need to do it. What's this going to look like for us? How are we going to do it? What's it? So we're observing, we're orienting to our environment, we're making decisions, and we're going to act upon them.
Agreed.
And then you act. You're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this, we're doing this. We're all doing this together. And in the end, classic thing is the lessons learned or the hot wash or the after-action review.
After-action report.
Yeah.
Sure,
all those things. And what is
AARs,
this?
man.
Yeah. And what is it? We did this well. We did this really good. We need to work on this. And then it's the classic, what would we have wanted to know more of
Okay.
to get a better result?
So, agreed. Here it is.
Okay.
The Ocoka. Now, this is new to me. I don't even know what the hell this is. Observation,
Ocoka.
cover, obstacle, key terrain, avenues of approach.
Yeah.
Is it, what is it? Ocoka?
A coca.
I thought for a second there was some kind of Native American language.
It probably was at some point.
Ocoka, but I take the Ocoka and I
Yep.
run with it, man.
Well, it's as you go down the line
Yep.
and you read about each one, and it's funny, but all the themes in this book, all the techniques, just kind of are the same, but they change the different words and the way to approach it.
Well,
What are your avenues of approach?
but so exactly. Okay. So please don't go any further. Here it is.
Okay,
Primary, alternative, contingency.
pace.
So if you think
And it's
about
not just
it,
a
if you
salsa.
think about, yeah, right, that's true. If you think about it, how many people are going into business and thinking, man, I want to buy a house. I
Okay.
need to know the primary, the alternative, and the contingency approach. The beauty about your book is that you break those down. Hey, think about these things as you're going.
That's the biggest thing that I've noticed. It's like the start of the book is plan the plan.
Yes.
Plan the plan. Think about it. What is it you want to do? What is it you really want to do? What is the goal? What is the objective? What is it where does it you want to be? How do you want to plan the plan?
Yeah.
And
I'm listening.
as you plan it, it'll start filling itself in. And then you identify the gap. What is it you need? What is it you want to be able to do there? How does it you want it to look? Then you have your primary way to get there. P.
I agree.
And if that doesn't work, what's the alternate way to get there?
And this is the high-end recording that we do out here.
Okay.
And we're recording as we're going, John.
Oh, all right.
That's how we're doing. The phone died.
I wore out a phone.
The other phone.
That phone.
Oh, yeah, man. These things are like 1080p these days, but not that guy. That
Okay.
guy. That guy.
So
So-
then you have, if the primary plan changes or there's something that shifts on it, what's your alternate plan? It's based on the primary plan. Few things happen. Then you have your contingency plan. Things are changing. And then finally you have the emergency plan. Everything collapsed around you. I recently had a really good friend of mine. As you know, I just recently moved. I was trying to figure things out. I'm talking to him like, Anthony, I can't get my head around this. And he's like, plan the plan. I said, excuse me, what? He looks at me and goes, John, follow your own advice. Plan the plan. Plan the plan. He goes, just adapt. You know how to do this. Find your new plan. Find your primary. And I looked at him and I went, son of a gun, you're right. I went back to my hotel room that night and I started thinking about my plan. I had allowed the circumstances to overwhelm me, to overcome me. I didn't even think about my book. I didn't think about anything in there. And it took a coworker, who's that? The person on my left or right, to go, John, plan the plan. And you know what? He was right.
100% right.
I said, Anthony, you're right.
100% right.
Saw him recently, and he said, you're calmer. And I said, I have a plan now. And one good thing about a plan in life and anything is it gives you a sense of calm, a sense of reassurance. I have a plan for this. Now, it may not always work perfectly, but I got a plan. And the plan can't be, I'm going to be a millionaire. No, that's the goal.
Come on.
Well, if the Powerball hits tomorrow, I'm going to be a billionaire.
Man, in California, I think it's 1.2 million.
It's almost $2 billion.
Oh, Lord
So
Jesus.
if they call
Lord
the numbers
Jesus.
in the next 20 minutes and I win,
Lord,
I'm cutting this interview short.
Yeah.
I'm cutting it.
Well,
Peace.
then before we do that, let's get
Okay,
to the pace.
okay.
Primary, alternate, contingency, emergency plan. And,
Yes.
you covered that in the book as well, and you turned it into kind of, again, the life aspect. How do we,
Right.
take this and turn it into an approach into personal life? So tell me,
Okay.
John,
I
tell
used
me
to
about
barbecue.
that. But look, we got like 5 minutes left, man. So
Anyway, I used it as like you're planning this nice barbecue for your
Yep.
family.
Yep.
You did out your range card. You got the chairs. You got some tables. You got the grill going. Everything's happening. The storm comes in. Oh my God! You're held up at the store. You can't get the hot dogs. Everything went to crap. Your plan went out the window. So then you hit the emergency plan.
yeah.
And I think I say it in there, break out the Ritz crackers, the jam and the jelly, turn on the radio, because if the goal of everything was to have a good time with your family and friends, they can wait for you to come home. And,
I agree. You
Andy
sound
Griffiths
like
told
my
us
wife
years ago.
right now, man.
Andy Griffiths told us years ago, that's a Ritz cracker.
Yeah.
And now I'm dating myself.
You did. Yeah, well, you did. Well, you are 22, and
In my heart, I'm 22.
Yeah.
My lower back tells me I'm not.
Look, everybody, you got to do yourselves a favor, because if you don't pick up your range card for life, regardless if you're transitioning into life, into something else, you're trying to figure out a plan throughout an issue or a problem or what's going on in your life, or almost anything whatsoever that has to do with the last word here, life. This is it.
You just
John.
hit on something, and I guess it takes a while for as we go through life. It's transitioning. Are you transitioning from high school to college? Are you transitioning from junior high to this? Hopefully, there's things in that book that will help you.
The techniques, John.
The techniques that will help you not make this transition so daunting. You're going from college, or you're moving to a new city or a new state.
Yeah.
Plan the plan, right?
Look, you have the range card.
Yes.
You have the PVC.
Yes.
You have the OODA loop.
Love that OODA loop.
I like the Okaka.
There you go.
Okaka. I'm going to Okaka.
We used to call it a coca, but that's okay.
All right. Pace planning.
Yes.
We didn't even cover the Met TCP, which we're not. No, we're gonna.
We'll get another.
Trust it. Yeah,
we'll
get
do
another one on
one.
this. But something that you always. I know you preach to me, you preach to everybody. You always mention when we're talking about risk in a situation, what's going on,
Okay.
the task condition standards,
Yep.
how to approach that, and how to audit what's going on in your life. You cover all, man, in this easy to read book.
Thank you.
That I think it's incredible. It's well written to the point for people like me that are like, hey man, I don't need fancy words. Just give me straight up.
I actually I had
what's
someone
going
tell
on.
me one day, a friend, in shameless self promotion, and this, you send it out to all your friends and family. Hey, check this out. If you buy it and you like it, tell everybody else. So hopefully this will. But a buddy of mine reached back to me, said, dude, he said, I felt like I was sitting right next to you having a beer, and we were talking about this
That's
thing.
exactly
he said,
it.
I could see, he said, this was probably one of the best ones I ever read. He said, you know what? Reading it was not a chore.
That's exactly
He
it.
said, I read it in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And I said, well, do me a favor, go back and read again. Tell me if I left anything out.
Yeah. You're
So-
just reading it, and that's it. Like I'm having a conversation with John. I
hope so.
That's exactly it. So, look, everybody, pick this up, like, subscribe, find John on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Talk to him about this, the range card for life, and everything else that's going on in his life. He'll be able to help you through whatever. Outstanding
Absolutely.
mentor, outstanding speaker, talker. Make sure you get him on your speaking. Whatever it is that you're trying to put together with a bunch of speakers. What is that thing's called? Like your speaking rendezvous? Like no.
I'm going to let you keep going. You're
Yeah,
doing great.
just get John going. But John, thank you for your time.
Always,
We're hanging out
Carlos.
here, man. You came out to my
Thank you.
hotel.
I did.
And I appreciate that.
And
We set up
I've
before.
stayed up. Oh, my God. Oh, Lord. Who
Way
stays
past,
up this late?
way past your bedtime.
I did this for you.
And we're doing it right here in the lobby. We got some lighting going on. We got some assistance right there. Thank you, sir. I
Thank you very
appreciate
much.
you. And so that's it, everybody. So pick up your range card for life. It's going to break down a bunch of different ways on how you can deal with life issues, preparation to something, preparation to your next task, preparation to the next career, your transition. I mean, there's so many things it covers in this book in a very simple way that it's just incredible. Pick it up. You need it. You can have it. John, any last words from the transition into the book, into everything we just said?
One, I hope if you buy it, and I hope you do, you get something from it. I hope that it... Message me. Let me know on LinkedIn if it helped you, hurt you, threw you off to the side. But my biggest thing is live, laugh, love.
Yes.
Live a great story. And I've learned this over time. Be kind to yourself. Because we all make mistakes. We all do things. We all get to our point in life, however we got there. And sometimes we're our toughest critic.
Yep.
And that's okay to a point. But in the end, be good to yourself, and you'll find out you can be good to other people. Be positive.
That's it.
Live a great story.
Yeah. So from the corporate security translator, Mr. Carlos Francisco, the author of So You Want to Get Into Corporate Security, hanging out with John. So you always say your last name, which is always funny, Riat.
Riat.
Yeah, and I always say Riat as well, but no, you've said it differently before.
It depends where I'm at. The only one I never got was, I'll say her name because she's passed on, was Sister Catherine called me Ritz. Mr. Ritz. And that's the only
Ritz.
one in all my life I couldn't figure out. So
Hey.
it's Riat, Riete, Riote.
Hey, go
enjoy.
get Mr. Riote. Go get his book. That's what you need to do. So thanks, John. Appreciate you once again,
Thank
buddy.
you.
We'll
COVID,
catch you
bro.
next time. Huh? We'll see you guys later. Corporate Security Translator, and we're out.
Let
See
me
ya.
tell y'all their little story